right.
Go.
To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, this board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It's a bit cumbersome, so I ask you in advance for your patience. This is for the Fairfax County History Commission's History Conference Planning Committee on Thursday evening, the 27th of August, 2020, which was to begin at 7:30, and due to technical difficulties, we're beginning late. First, because each member of the board is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we need to verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all of the other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and location from which you are participating. I ask each of you to pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we'll vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. Okay, this is Lynn Garvey Hodge calling from Fairfax County. Denise, you want to check in? She doesn't need to. Okay, Cheryl.
I'm actually not officially part of the meeting. I'm just
okay
facilitating, I guess, technologically. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Wonderful. Thank you, Denise. Cheryl?
I'm here. I'm in Centerville.
Okay, so that's Cheryl Rapetti. Mary, say your name, please.
Mary Lipsy.
Oh, sorry, sure.
Okay. And where are you from? Calling from, Mary?
Mary Lipsy from Springfield.
Springfield, okay. Esther?
Esther McCullough from Herndon.
Okay. Mike?
Do I need to check in? I'm not a official member of the board anymore. I'm just a community member.
I think for the purpose of having you even being a non-voting member, we should still have your name in the minutes.
Okay.
That
Mike
be...
Irwin, Fairfax.
Okay. All right. And then we have Liz. Liz?
Liz Crowell, Alexandria.
Perfect. Okay. At this point, I'll pass the virtual gavel to the vice chairman so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion. I move each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board. I need a second.
Second.
All can hear?
Yes.
Aye?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. All right. It's been approved. All right. Second, having established each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must establish the nature of the emergency. And if you can, I would say mute yourself except for me because we are getting a little bit of feedback. We're meeting electronically. What type of electronic communication is being used and how to arrange for public access to this meeting? Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble, unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meetings, and that as such, FOIA's usual procedures which require the physical assembly of this board and the physical presence of the public cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that this board may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated phone line and that the public may access this meeting by calling XYZ number. It is so moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Need to dispense with FOIA's usual procedures to assure continuity in government and continue operations. Finally, it's next required that all the matters addressed in today's agenda must address the state of emergency itself, are necessary for continuity in Fairfax County government, and or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of this board's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved. Need a second?
Second.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Esther. Notice requirements to schedule a meeting. Okay, we'll do that at the end. We'll decide when our next meeting needs to be. Okay, so do you all now have in your possession a draft agenda? Cheryl still doesn't. Nobody does. We check my email and see what's happened here.
So Lynn, it's a pretty easy process to share your screen if you want to just call it up and I'll show you how.
Yeah, that would be good because we're going to have to do that. All right. So what do you need to have me do, Denise?
So I need you to open the document.
I believe it still is open. Maybe not. There we go.
And you should see it on your screen.
Oh, golly. Oh, did it not save it? Son of a gun. Okay, this would be, what is this? There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Can you
Now,
all see that? Let me save it again, and then maybe we can get this document. See, I'm still getting document recovery messages. And usually this doesn't happen to me when I'm here alone. Let's just close that. Okay. Can you all see that?
No, you haven't shared your screen yet. So
Okay.
I'm going to hand you the little ball and make you a host. Okay. And now at the bottom of your screen, Lynn, on the bottom of your WebEx screen, there's the mute button, there's the video button, and then there's the share content button. It's a square with a little arrow pointing up. Do you see that?
Nope. I don't see any of that.
Do you see your picture for the
Okay, hang on.
WebEx?
I'm going to minimize the attachment and go back to this.
Okay.
Okay, I see my stuff. All right. So you said something about a little box.
Yeah, if you hover over the screen that we're looking at, the WebEx screen, at the bottom there should be little icons. One is a mute button, starting from left to right, mute, and then video, and then there's a box with an arrow.
Share content. Okay.
Yep. So click on that.
Okay.
And you should see.
There you go.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody see that? Okay, good.
Yes.
We get lots of thumbs ups here.
Okay,
Thumbs up.
Okay. All right. So let me just kind of do a quick walkthrough of this. This is still kind of almost a 30,000 view look down at what the day might be like. But I think it'll give us a general idea. So let me begin at the beginning. One of the things we still seem to be not in complete final mode on is the exact title of our conference. Esther sent me a couple ideas. I've not heard from any of the rest of you. Having seen and been through webinars and participated myself in sessions over the last few weeks, it has occurred to me that kind of the general story for most people that would be interested in this is known. It's not maybe known in grand detail, but there's a general idea that Alice Paul and Lucy Burns had something to do with this. It was in 1920. We finally got the right to vote. Yeah, there was a lot of skirmish and we had the whole Occoquan workhouse thing. I mean, obviously there's far more detail in that, and going back many, many more years to Seneca Falls, and really before that to Abigail Adams. But it does seem, and especially with some of the stuff I've posted on Facebook the last few days, so many of these stories are untold. And that's one of the things Mary has been trying to bring to our attention. The story of Asian women, the story of Native American women. I just posted an article today on Facebook about 5 different Native American tribes that were matriarchal and had been, and Mary, jump in here anytime you want on this one, that had been surviving as a matriarchal democratic culture for decades. I dare say even hundreds of years. And they kind of got completely lost. Their success got completely lost. And even to this day, some of those people cannot vote because you need to have an address. Mary, I know you've done a drill down on some of that, and that's what is kind of pushing me to the sense of the rest of the story. Other piece that I'm really trying to help promote, and we did talk about this last time, is the reality of the African-American suffragist and how hard they have fought for the right to vote and quite frankly still do. I mean, we're seeing all kinds of voting issues, particularly in the South. I don't know that we need to get into present day time, but anyway, so that is where this votes for women, passing the 19th Amendment, the rest of the story kind of narrative idea came from. I need your feedback. Let's pick it apart. Let's pick something different, but let's at least try to, in the next few minutes, get something that sounds like a passable title for the conference. Does that make sense, guys?
How about the rest of her story?
Ah, I like that. I like that, Mary. And spell her story as one word or two.
Two,
Okay,
but I would put in her in capitalization.
all caps. Okay. Any other thoughts?
Would we leave votes for women, colon, the rest of her story?
Sure. It's just that this is the 100th anniversary, 19th Amendment, and all that. I just didn't want to lose that, but I think maybe by then it's superfluous.
What do you think, Mary?
Say it one more time, Esther.
Keep the votes for women,
Oh, yeah, I was just
Colon.
changing the end of it. Yes.
colon, the rest of her story?
Yeah, I mean, I could even keep the passing the 19th Amendment. I just was looking at the last phrase with my suggestion. That's all.
So, okay, here's kind of a roll together. Votes for women, colon, the rest of her story, and then the subtitle in smaller italics, the passage of the 19th Amendment, or just 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, just something that kind of puts the ribbon around it. What do you think? Or is that still too much?
No, I think it's
That's all right.
Okay, so put that
I think
underneath.
it's good to break it up that way.
Okay, all right.
That explains what it is.
I'm not sure if it quite captures the idea of telling these stories that are less familiar.
Well, I think that was the intent with the rest of the story. So Cheryl, let's take, and I like how Mary has changed that to the rest of her story. What would you do with that?
Well, I just wonder, if you don't know if you're not privy to our conversation, I'm not sure where that title would take you, the rest of her story. It sounds like you're going to tell about Alice Paul and the rest of her story working for, other women's issues, or the development of the women's, what's the
ERA
that comes out of that?
Equal Rights Amendment piece. Yeah.
The ERA, but also there's the Women's Voters Bureau comes out of that.
League of Women Voters
Women
comes out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if that sounds, when you say the rest of her story, it sounds more singular, and what we're talking about is trying to get people to understand that that it wasn't singular. It wasn't just a movement of white women, but there were many different women who participated in this.
Right.
Right.
So would you say the rest of their story?
Maybe.
It still is ours because we're not there yet. I mean, this is not maybe our. I don't know. Let's weigh in with Mike. Mike, what do you think? I just put Mike on the spot.
Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, there we go. I had to unmute. Yeah, I was having a little bit of problem with the singular, the rest of her story.
Okay.
I like the rest of their story, but I'm really liking the rest of our story. I don't know. That just, when that was mentioned, that just sort of reached out and grabbed me.
Okay, because it makes it sound inclusive, and quite frankly, a lot of issues along the way, especially with literacy issues and so forth, it affected African-American men and other men of color. Okay, that's my take. Let me let somebody else talk.
And even voting.
Yes. So change that pronoun to R and take out her or the. Is that a collective yes?
Yeah, I think so. I like the rest of, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's leave it there for the time being. We can incubate on it and come back and talk about it again at the end. So you see here then I've got, and by the way, you guys, whenever you get that email, would you please let me know that you've gotten it, even if it doesn't happen tonight, if it happens tomorrow. I want to see how long the emails are taking to go through my system. We already have an okay from Jeff McKay's office to do the same kind of opening that Sharon Bulova has done. Jeff is very supportive of this whole 19th Amendment this year. His whole newsletter update yesterday was devoted to this, which was just perfect timing since it was also August 26th, the actual 100th anniversary. I haven't checked in on with Jerry Connolly yet. I know we have a election coming up. I don't even know if he's running opposed or not, but I would count on him being there. And because of Turning Point, I thought having Paul Gilbert. All right. Quick feedback on any, all, none of those.
I'm just looking at timing. That's an awful
Yeah.
lot for half an hour.
It is. We'd have to scoot them through. And of course, there's going to be no awards this time other than to announce names and title.
Well, you can cut me out because I hadn't planned on talking about these people. I was just introducing the idea that they need to be addressed.
You mean the Asian and the Native
Yes,
American?
I mean, I'd be glad to, work with someone, but I hadn't expected to be speaking on it.
Okay. I misunderstood, Mary, when you sent me all that information. It sounded like you'd already done some research
Oh, I
about it.
know. I've done, and I've written about it in my book, but I don't know.
Okay.
I've just had the 2 or 3 women. I don't have, a whole raft of them, but they're representative of the 2 groups.
Okay, they are representative because, let's go back to the, tell me a fact, I will learn, tell me a story, or tell me a truth and I will believe, tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever. If you can tell us, that's kind of actually what Cipriana is going to do. If you can tell us about 2 or 3
Okay, all right.
Native American, Asian, I think it'll give people a flavor of what this wasn't just, white women finally getting the right to vote. No, there were some I's that weren't dotted and T's that weren't crossed in terms of the American population. So if you could take that on. Now, maybe, Mary, we don't begin with you. Maybe we begin more with Alice Reagan. We can flip that around a little bit. Alice can get us more.
All idea of the protests and everything should come before the fact that some were left behind.
Okay. All right. So let's do Alice first, then you. We'll flip that around. And then I do think, and Pat Worth does a very nice overview of that time and place, and it's become a little bit varied now. And of course, we can have Bob Beach to support her about the Turning Point Suffragist Memorial. This is all going to be a little bit different because we're really only going to do 2 hours. Now, the other thing is we could make this 2.5, start at 10. So okay, we've got some idea of content in the morning. Let's talk about timing. What do you think? 10:30, 10? What seems to make sense?
Well, I think 10 makes sense because this is the first time that Jeff has been before us.
Okay.
And Jerry goes on and on. Somebody has to stop him.
Right.
And then you want to do the awards. You don't have but 2, do you?
3. There's 3.
3.
Yeah. The minutes were not accurate. I have to get back to Wynn about that.
Okay. So if you started at 10, that would give you a little wiggle room in between.
Okay. So just do a 10 to 10:30 with kind of some of the opening comments.
Yes.
And then begin with Alice at 10:30. And then the other thing I want you all to be thinking about is how are we going to do breaks in here? I've seen it done in webinar. I've seen it done brilliantly. So let's just also keep in the back of our mind where that might be. So let's do Alice 10:30 to 11. The way I saw this done a few weeks ago was brilliant. Let's face it, people do need nature breaks. And yeah, it's a webinar. Yeah, they can get up and go to the kitchen and get a cup of coffee. Yeah, they can go to the restroom and nobody knows, right? But I found it really nice being in a webinar recently where the screen just stopped and it was a countdown by minutes. It was only a 5-minute break. And so you had on the screen, 5 minutes, and then the countdown to 4 and the countdown to 3. And it was very effective because what I experienced, and this was in a webinar of over 20 people actually came back early. We had them back in about 3-4 minutes. So thoughts on a break or no breaks, just keep on going and know that people are at home and they can take care of themselves.
No,
I think
right.
Go ahead, Esther.
I've been on several of these, many more than I want to name, of these virtual things. And a break is a decent thing to do, and it makes it clean,
Okay.
even if
Okay.
it's just 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then our church broadcasts a picture of a cup of coffee. And they say, it's now time to go get your Bible and a cup of coffee. And so
Okay.
you're just watching this little picture, and then when the picture disappears, the break's over.
yeah.
Okay.
Breaks on our camps too. It was a 2-hour camp, but we gave them a break after the first hour. It's cheating. It's stressful to be looking at the screen for that long. Your eyes need a rest.
Right.
Oh, it does. It is very difficult. Okay. So then we'll do a break from 11 to 11:05.
Lynn, did you wind up just pushing everything back instead of, I think Esther was suggesting starting at 10 in order to give those opening speakers more time.
I did. We did. So we've got a 10 to 10:30 for opening, even though it's kind of half hour. And then Alice from 10:30 to 11, and then a 5-minute break.
But that's still just giving you a half an hour for all those beginning.
So you might want 40 minutes, say.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me play
Second.
around with that. Let me play around with that. Let's see where we land here. Mary, you're always good about doing the numbers on this. So we'll go right into Alice then.
Give her 10:45 to 11:30, maybe.
Okay, we can do that. And then do the 5-minute break just before she speaks.
If that works, yeah.
My only concern is doing it right there is all we've done is an opening and then we do a break. So we usually do the opening and then at least one speaker and then a break. But this is a different venue, so maybe we do 2 5-minute breaks here. What do you all think?
I don't think we need 2.
Okay.
But I think we do need to go right into something. Take Alice first, and then
have a break.
Perhaps a break. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's what I was thinking. Okay. So we'll have Alice 10:40-ish until 11:15, and then a break from 11:15 to 11:20. That still gives us 50 minutes, 50 minutes, to do the untold stories. And maybe that 50 minutes, Mary, since we're going to have Pat here also, gets split up between you and Pat Worth, with either you getting a little more time, her getting a little bit more time. What do you think?
Well, I'm kind of lost because I thought there was only, right now you have Alice Reagan in the morning after the intro. And then what?
And then a 5-minute break.
And then we have a 5-minute break. And then we finish the morning. We have got 50 minutes left then, because don't forget, morning isn't going to end till 12:30. So we do a 5-minute break from 11:15 to 11:20, and now we've got 11:20 until 12:30 to do you and Pat.
Yeah, I think that works, Lynn. I don't think that Mary wants to present for 50 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that. It has to be split. I just want to know from Mary, how much of that 50 minutes you want, sweetie? What do you
I
think?
think 15 to 20,
15?
yeah.
Okay.
Am I still, are we gonna do the pictures? The suffragist story in pictures, we're gonna do the men's point of view and stuff like that?
I think you get to do whatever you would like that you think helps the audience understand. There were holes in this outcome that weren't anticipated and still needed to be addressed, even though that presidential election did include women.
Well, I was thinking before the suffrage amendment, there's these wonderful cartoons. I sent you a couple of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Yeah.
That it shows the men's point of view, which
Mhm.
I think, I mean, I know this is all about the women, but I'd like them to see how the men felt as this was happening.
Okay.
I'm always big on showing both sides of it.
No,
Yeah.
I think that makes perfect sense. Let me tell you where I had that, because it's probably not clear. Is at the bottom as we wrap up the program. Here's what we were up against. Here were some of the cartoons. And to try, because I realized towards the end of the day, I love your idea of the graphics. So that section between 3 and 4 is to give you time to be able to do that. But maybe we do it earlier, Mary. I don't know. This is a draft. That's
Okay, because I'm not seeing anything beyond 3 o'clock on my page here.
You have to scroll up
Right.
the view because we can only see till 3.
oh, okay. Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
scroll your view down.
All right.
Better.
Of course you didn't know that, Mary. I'm sorry
Okay.
if you didn't have that full picture. So that's kind of where I thought we would put that, because
Okay. All right. I was just hoping to do, not a whole lot of narration, just put the picture up there with the caption
mhm.
and talk about, the maybe the venue. The Puck magazine was a very popular magazine, and they had these cartoons, etc.
Mhm. So, okay, so then if we do that in the morning, we're giving that kind of well-rounded story of Alice Reagan's going to talk about what was happening here in DC. Pat's going to talk about the turning point. I would see, Mary, then you between Alice and Pat. I love your idea of the balance. Here's those 4, here's those against, here were the cartoons. Maybe you go in between Alice and Pat Worth. What do you think about that?
That's okay with me.
That sound okay to you? All right, everybody
We're
else?
talking about the cartoons now, right?
The cartoons, and then that whole piece that you were just talking about with men having a particular perspective here. And of
Right.
course, not all men did.
Right.
Okay, so in the morning is a 1, 2, 3. It would run as Alice is 1, Mary is 2, and we wrap up with Pat Worth.
Sounds good.
That sound okay?
Sound.
Okay, and then after Alice is when we have a little 5-minute break. We wrap up with Pat. She's a good wrap up because she then has almost a legitimate moment in time to say, and we're still taking donations for this suffragist memorial. That, COVID has put us behind financially. So please be in touch. Here's how you can make a donation to us.
So is that 11:20 to 12:30?
Yes.
Mary and Pat?
Correct. Yes.
Lynn?
Yes, Mike.
What are the possible ramifications of a group coming in to talk at the county history conference and asking for donations?
Oh, wow.
That's something I think we need to check on.
Or can we just post something on a
Yeah, just give
screen.
them the website. Just give them the website to go to if you want to learn more about the Suffragist Memorial.
Right.
Yeah.
Do like a flyer on the screen.
Yeah. With
I would
the
love to be
website.
able to say, you know, we need donations, for them to be able to say we need donations, but being a county thing, I could see that being dicey.
But let Pat use it as part of her presentation. You can check on it if you need to, but
Yeah.
let us not touch it. Let it be Pat that puts it up there. You
I
know,
agree.
All I can say in, supporting what Mike said, and if it was something that was county or park authority, we were told by that they couldn't do it.
Okay.
So again, I don't know if anybody wants to follow through with that, but I think at least, officially it can't be done.
We're not having our vendors and stuff like that. Is it possible that there would be a opportunity?
Was something that a Civil War group wanted to put. Basically, there was it was an app, and they wanted as part of the app to ask for a donation. And if it was something that was county or park authority, we were told by that they couldn't do it.
Okay.
So again, I don't know if anybody wants to follow through with that, but I think at least, officially it can't be done.
We're not having our vendors and stuff like that. Is it possible that there would be a opportunity for them, just anybody, like the other groups, to put up a flyer that would be shown during breaks? So it's not being advertised as a speaker, but as if they were for them, just anybody, like the other groups, to put up a flyer that would be shown during breaks. So it's not being advertised as a speaker, but as if they were sitting at a table at the conference and they had a flyer. Is there a way to do something like that?
Oh, you know what we could do, Mary? On that page with the 5-minute breakdown, I think this can be done. This group that I
Sitting at a table at the conference and they had a flyer. Is there a way to do something like that?
Oh, you know what we could do, Mary? On that page with the 5-minute breakdown, I think this can be done. This group that I studied with, I think could help me with it. While that countdown is happening, having the logos and the names surrounding the
Yeah.
5 and then the 4, I think we could accomplish it that way. Studied with, I think could help me with it. While that countdown is happening, having the logos and the names surrounding the
Yeah.
5 and then the 4, I think we could accomplish it that way. What do you think?
If it's possible, yeah.
I think that's doable. Because basically we'd have a screen share like we're doing right now. Only we would have what do you think?
If it's possible, yeah.
I think that's doable. Because basically we'd have a screen share like we're doing right now. Only we would have a cutout in the center, which would be, like how you do an insert box in a document, and then have the countdown there.
so
Cutout in the center, which would be, like how you do an insert box in a document, and then have the countdown there.
so what are you adding to the countdown specifically?
Around the 5, we begin with the 5. Up in this corner, Bull Run Roundtable. Up in this corner, Prince William. Up in this corner, Virginia Room. You know what I mean? Just little
friends of.
So what are you adding to the countdown specifically?
around the 5. We begin with the 5. up in this corner, Bull Run Roundtable, up in this corner, Prince William, up in this corner, Virginia Room, do you know what I mean? Just little,
Friends of
uh,
Huntley Meadows or Huntley.
what's that?
The Friends of Huntley Meadows.
Yes, exactly,
That kind of
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
So names and they, I think they all have their own logos. So just kind of,
Huntley Meadows or Huntley.
what's that?
The Friends of Huntley Meadows.
Yes, exactly,
That
exactly.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
So names and they, I think they all have their own logos. So just kind of scattered.
But that does not answer the question we have about Pat.
No, but the
No, Mary
Turning
went on to a
Memorial would be
different
one of
topic.
those groups.
What's that?
The Turning Memorial would
Of scattered.
But that does not answer the question we have about Pat.
no, but
No,
the
Mary
Turning
went on to a
Memorial would be
different
one of
topic.
those groups.
What's that?
The Turning Memorial would have their logo.
Oh, okay,
Right.
sure. Yeah, Turning
That's
Point could
right.
be one of those groups. Yeah.
It's like the vendors at our conference. They're not going to be able to have a table this year.
Right.
So if there's have their logo,
Oh, okay,
Right.
sure. Yeah, Turning
That's
Point could
right.
be one of those groups. Yeah.
it's like the vendors at our conference. They're not going to be able to have a table this year.
Right.
So if there's a way that during break or something, they could just put like a little ad for their group.
Okay, that sounds good. But can we get back to Pat? What are we saying? We need to ask the
The way that during break or something, they could just put like a little ad for their group.
okay, that sounds good. But can we get back to Pat? What are we saying? We need to ask the attorneys something?
I don't know. I think what I heard Liz say is that they've already run into a problem with this with the Civil War group that kind of asked for money, and that
Attorneys something?
I don't know. I think what I heard Liz say is that they've already run into a problem with this with the Civil War group that kind of asked for money, and that and if I've got this wrong, Liz, correct me, that got a little dicey, and so it would make more sense to steer clear of asking for money towards the foundation, but perhaps giving the information. And if I've got this wrong, Liz, correct me, that got a little dicey, and so it would make more sense to steer clear of asking for money towards the foundation, but perhaps giving the information, and it could be part of I know Pat has a wonderful PowerPoint.
Well, just the website.
Precisely. Just the website.
Yeah, I think if you refer to a website, it's fine.
And it could be part of I know Pat has a wonderful PowerPoint.
Well, just the website.
Precisely. Just the website.
Yeah, I think if you refer to a website, it's fine. What in the case that I was talking about, there was something that you had an app. What in the case that I was talking about, there was something that you had an app, and as part of the app, they were asking for donations, and it was if that was going to, if the app was going to go to that, then it couldn't be like a QR code or something that would link it to things in a park, because that couldn't be done by the county or for the county. That's what we were told.
Okay, and I'm really fine with there being nothing that people can click on to give money during the course of this.
I mean, if you want, for further information on, Pat's organization or whatever,
Precisely.
visit the website.
Precisely.
And the website can be whatever, but.
And people could take a screenshot of it, I assume.
Yeah.
Sure.
At the end of her speech.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Is half an hour actually enough? I mean, we're not going to have, they're not going to be doing any questions, correct?
Correct.
So is a half an hour for Alice Reagan enough to talk about suffragists in Washington, D.C.?
She told me what she can do is something in 20, 25 minutes. That's what
Okay.
she's
all right.
positioned to me. But we certainly could give her a little more time. And maybe
I'm
we
just
do
looking
that,
at all-
Mary.
I'm just looking at all the speakers. It just seems like 30 minutes is a short time.
You actually
Well-
start running against people's attention span.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking each presentation shouldn't go any more than 20, 25 minutes
Okay.
personally. Because that's what now we're getting used to. I did a webinar last night, actually Turning Point coordinated it. Very nicely, had the 4 speakers and the boxes, just like we're seeing right now, and then the main speaker when it was her turn to speak. And I don't think anybody, I saw another piece on resilience and also bias. And I don't think each speaker had more than maybe 5 minutes. And then the rest of the time was open Q&A, and it was an hour long. So I think that's now what the audience is better accustomed to, is the 20, 25 minute
All right.
capturing of time. I think 30 minutes and we lose them.
Start to. I mean, it depends on the speaker and it depends on what they're presenting, but
Okay. And don't forget, this is still draft. It's got to go back to them. They have to give our feedback and that kind of thing. All right. So we end up the morning then with, thank you, Pat. Thank you, everyone. We'd love to have you join us again this afternoon for now a look at the African-American suffragist and what all they, and this would tie us back into what Mary might be able to do here. In terms of the whole male dynamic with those cartoons and so forth that she's got. So we do Cipriana. Cipriana she sent me a beautiful, she's done a stunning little PowerPoint already. And she's just talking about the biggies of that time. Ida B. Wells, Barrington. Esther, remind me what her last name, her married last name was. Ida B. Wells.
Barrett.
I
Barrett.
think. I can't.
I messed it up in my little piece I did for Loud, and I stumbled over it. I think it's Ida B. Wells Barrington.
Barrett.
Ida B. Wells Barrett. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
So she's gonna do.
The question I have on this schedule, your timing from noon to 12:30, we've changed to 11:20 to 12:30 for Mary and Pat.
Right. But that may change now because we may give Alice just a little bit more time.
So is this a typo? You've got 2:00.
No, it is not a typo. There's going to be a big break because this is going to be, last time we talked about 2 sessions. If people only wanted to come to the morning session, they could do that. We begin again in the afternoon with the second session. And so there's enough time there to eat lunch, to go do whatever, and advertise it that if you want to just come and learn about the African-American suffragist reality, you come to the afternoon. I mean, you don't have to do both. I mean, obviously we'd love to have everybody do both, but
Do we think we'd lose people?
we might, but we might gain some
That
people.
big of a break?
We might, but don't forget, this is being filmed by Channel 16. They themselves will need a break. Why? Because of COVID. They're going to have to clear the studio, clean everything down, make it ready for the afternoon speakers. So there's got to be a window of time in there for that to happen. The mics are going to have to be clean. Anything people might touch. And so there's that reality. And maybe somehow as we advertise this, we can say that due to COVID, this is going to be, a 2-session conference with a morning component and an afternoon component.
Well, that brings up the question of the cleaning of the mics and all between each speaker.
Yes, then it's going to have to happen, obviously.
So,
and the way they might do it, this is what I'm thinking here, Esther, because these studios are actually pretty good size. It's just a fresh mic, And I think we also can, I mean, Jeff, this may be the easiest thing for Jeff McKay. We can live stream him from his home. We can live stream anybody from wherever they are. So we have that opportunity too, but I think it's a little dicier for 16 to pull that off. They would rather have people actually come into the studio. It's easier for them to do that.
Two things. It's Ida B. Wells Barnett, Barnett.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Liz.
And the only other thing I would say is if, you know, maybe if somebody was unable to make their presentation at that time, they could be pre-recorded. I don't know if Channel 16 would have the time to do that, but I mean, that's also pre-recording.
She and I talked about doing that, and she said it's actually going to be easier for them to just do it. One, bring them into the studio and stay for however long, then leave, than to take bits and pieces of other things and try to fill it in. Now, what we could do, and Esther, this might help out that bridge between that, is they may be able to play some of the videos. Like there's a couple of suffragist videos from the Lucy Burns Museum at Lorton that are apparently pretty amazing. And
that would be great to fill in that time.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds, all right. I like that idea also.
Okay. All right. So let me get that in here. And that would make those ladies very happy.
And as you tell us these things, I realize we need breaks too.
Yeah. How you guys doing right now? I'm almost done.
Well, now, I mean that day.
I know. I'm teasing you. I just need to plan
and maybe a catered lunch.
Yeah, I know. No, we're not going to miss those cookies. Okay, so I think the afternoon, I'm liking kind of our flow of the afternoon. Cipriana is going to hit the big stories. Mary Church Terrell, Ida B. Wells Barnett. She's got somebody else she wanted to talk about. I think, is it Harriet? She wanted to talk, but she wasn't really a suffragist, but she sure believed in it. She's gonna talk. Her piece is gonna reference this reality of the African-American suffragist is caught between two worlds, and she's gonna talk about the National Association of Colored Women, obviously, and the Alpha Suffrage Club of Chicago. And she'll bring it up to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. But she's got Mary Church. She's got. I'll just, you know what? I'll just forward you guys the beautiful PowerPoint she's already done. And we don't need to worry about that tonight. But I have a lot of confidence that in her time, and she's a fun, lively, engaging speaker, and she is president of the Reston Dulles Council of Negro Women. So they're pretty happening crowd there. But then after that, and I think we do another break. Yes, no, after we hear Cipriana, 2 to 2:30, or is that too soon to do another afternoon break? What do you guys think? I think we should put a break somewhere in the afternoon.
Might want to make it a little bit later. I'm not sure. Our next group is 2:30 to 3.
Something like that. Yeah, possibly. Mm-hmm. if we wait until Dr. Daly's done. Yeah,
I think it'd
that's
be easier, Lynn, if we could just see the final list and then figure
the
out
final
the
what, Mary?
timing. Yeah, it's hard for me to see. In fact, I was still thinking about what you're asking me to do. What if it's called The Other Side of the Story, where I introduce the men's opinions and also the women who did not get the right to vote in 1920.
Up front, or do we do it down here?
I don't care where, but just
I think
somehow
up front.
combine those two.
What if
You
you
want to-
set after Cipriana and then do a break? Because Mary's graphic presentation might not be that long, or would it
I
be?
don't think it would be very long.
Okay,
But
so
that's
we
why I
put
think
you in.
maybe trying to put the story of the Asian women and the Native American women are the untold story. But the other side of the story is also an untold story. It's how the men felt about it.
Right.
What if we were to call it the other side of the story, which implies that the men had an opinion, and then there's also women who really didn't get the right to vote? Or is that kind of forcing it?
I think we're starting to get wordy, but
Okay, well, no, it would just be the other
no,
side.
don't listen to me, Mary. Don't listen to me. I'm extrovert and I blurt. Let's hear what other people have to say.
My suggestion is to just be called the other side of the story. And
Okay, let's check back in with Mike because he liked the hour.
Are we talking about a title now?
yes,
Okay. Actually, I kind of like that.
But would it be side or sides?
Oh, better. Yes.
either one's fine.
Plural.
Okay, the other sides of our story.
Yeah.
Michael, you have an opinion here?
Unmute.
You may also have.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
I really don't think this is going to sound weird, but I really don't think we need to worry about wordiness now that we're actually not having to print these. We can be a little bit more evocative with our titles, I think.
Well, I think we can be more evocative. I agree with that, Mike, but we have got to do a brochure that can get sent out in email all over the place. We do need to have some kind of a brochure with names.
Yeah, agreed. But because it's going email, we're not really going to print it. We've got a lot more freedom that way.
In terms of, go ahead.
In terms of the size and the layout and everything.
Oh yeah.
We're not going to have people printing them out and filling in sections of it to send back for registration. We don't need to worry about that aspect of it anymore. So I think we can gain that ground and be a little bit wordier with this.
Okay.
Be a little bit more descriptive.
Okay, so you were pretty passionate about the pronoun our story. So the other sides of our story or the other sides of the story. Help us go back and wordsmith that a little bit.
I think someone mentioned, it's something I had never considered, in hearing the story of suffrage, that I had never, as a kid, or as a student of history, I never really considered that there was a white woman's story, there was an African-American woman's story, there was an Oriental woman or an Asian woman's story, Native American. So I think it's the other sides of our stories. Or the other sides of our stories.
I like that. Yes.
This has really been an eye opener for me in a lot of ways because there are so many nuances that I had never considered before. I had no clue that Native Americans didn't have the vote because they weren't considered U.S. citizens for years.
Yeah. And Mike, even to this day, because if you don't, I've got a girlfriend that lives in Alaska. They do not have street addresses.
Yep.
And you cannot vote if you don't have a street address.
Now
So
that I didn't know either. I thought you could vote on a PO box.
I thought you could too, but I don't know. I'm working right now trying to get my driver's license updated, and it's not going smoothly. So I don't know about here and now, but we don't need to worry about my situation. But I like the other side of our stories because that's so inclusive. Mary, what do you think of that?
That's fine.
Everybody else? You okay
Sounds
with that?
great.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay, perfect. Oh, that makes me happy. Okay. All right. So then we begin in the afternoon. Let me do a 1, 2, 3. So Mary, would you like to do your little intro in the afternoon with your cartoons and the graphics first? Then
That's
Cipriana?
fine. Now, I have no technology on how to do this for Channel 16. So somebody
Okay,
has to,
so
I'm
all
used
right,
to
so
doing
that's
PowerPoints.
a missing link. And Mary, by the way, you know I love doing PowerPoints. So if this has to be made into a PowerPoint, I'm happy to help you with
Well,
this.
I've got it made in the PowerPoint. I just don't know how Channel 16 will deal with it.
I think that's kind of becomes their problem. So
Okay.
we'll have to ask them, but yeah. I'm counting on there being PowerPoints because you're not going to be the only one with that. Pat
Okay.
has a very nice PowerPoint going on. Okay.
So
then,
can we do that right after the break?
actually, what I was going to do, this is where
Oh,
I
we
thought we were
moved the
heading.
break, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, was to do Mary real quick. She seems to think, what, 15 minutes, Mary?
For the
graphics?
yeah.
Cartoons? Okay, so 15 minutes, then do Cipriana, then do a break, then do Thelma, and then we've already done the marketing and the graphics, and then do kind of a summary. I'm happy to do a little bit of a summary just to tie everything all together.
Do we know that Edith Mayo's coming?
This is just on here. She can, she may not.
Okay.
The last time I understood, I'm not sure what kind of health Edie's
Right.
in right now. I would love to have her be here.
She's
So
my
that's
hero.
a stone I need to turn over. But one of her last public appearances, she did not feel comfortable doing, so I covered for her.
Okay,
Yes.
so what time does Mary have? 2 o'clock to what? 2:15?
Something like that, yeah.
That sounds good.
And then that puts Cipriana around 2:15 to 2:45 to 2:45, and then we do a 5-minute break.
Okay.
And that gets us to 2:50, and then Thelma can come on from 2:50. We can even wrap up at 3:30. That doesn't feel like enough for Thelma, though. Esther, what do you think?
Give her maybe 10 more minutes.
Total. What should be our total for her then? We're coming back from a break.
45?
What, 45 minutes?
Yeah. Where would that put us?
So 2:45, we've just come back from break. That puts us at 3. I'm sorry, way wrong, way wrong. 2:45, it puts us at 3:30.
You've left the break out, haven't you? Where is the break?
Break was 2:15 to 2, no, okay, so I had that right. Okay, break is 2:15. I'm sorry, Cipriana is 2:15 to 2:45, 5-minute break. Then Thelma begins at 2:50, 50, and speaks until 3:30.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
And then I'll take, 5-10 minutes of closing comments, whatever was we can do chat box, Q&A. We can do phone in. Pam has said there's a lot of different opportunities we have with that too.
So the goal is to wrap up at 4:30.
Oh, I think we're going to wrap up earlier than that. I think we're going to wrap up probably around 3:45. I gave marketing and graphics a lot of time there.
I think you need a better title for that. I don't know what to call it, but
Okay, what is the marketing and graphics?
Mary's going to do that at the very beginning. She's going to kick off with that with all the cartoons and so forth.
well,
Okay.
that's the other point of view or something like that.
Uh-huh.
A different
Okay,
point
so
of view.
Okay,
that
so
doesn't exist. The marketing and graphics is a scratch off here.
no, it's how we're going to kick off. She's going to just do it in 15 minutes.
Well, I'd rather call it something like a different point of view or something like that.
Whatever. I
Okay.
wanted us to know what the content of it was
Okay.
going to be.
But at this point with the schedule, I'm talking time.
Yeah. Yes.
We're at 3:30.
Mhm.
So that's when you wrap up.
3:30, 3:45, I think.
That's a lot. It gives you some wiggle room in terms of overages.
Yeah, and I think what we can do also is just advertise it as going till 4.
Yeah.
And then see what happens.
Also, Lynn, between speakers, I don't know how Channel 16 is doing this. So you have those, half an hour, whatever, at the beginning. Those people all leave, right? And then the next person comes in.
Mhm.
So there has to be some timing allowed for that.
Transition.
Just like they're coming up on stage.
Here's kind of how I think it could happen, but again, we need to clarify this with Pam.
Yeah.
I've only had one very, very long meeting with her, almost an hour and a half. We're probably going to get the whole studio to ourselves. So I'm picturing one speaker in one studio, next speaker in the next studio, and go back and forth like that. That's what I'm picturing.
Things a lot easier.
It sure would. So
they have plenty of time to transition and sanitize.
Correct. Okay. I think that sounds great.
Hey, I'm going to have to jump off, get ready for tomorrow, take care of Siren, and I just discovered I've got to run to the store because I'm out of sandwich meat for my lunch.
Oh, no, that's not a good thing. Okay.
You gotta have that.
Okay, so you guys, let me kind of tidy up on this format, what we went through tonight, get it back out to you. Those of you still working on titles, we can still fluff this in later on. Michael, when can you meet with us again? Or are you gone?
I'll be gone over the Labor Day weekend.
Right.
But other than that, I should be fairly free. So Siren, what the heck? How did you do that, girl? She just shed her collar.
Wow, she wants to bust loose. What if we,
okay.
Okay, we've got Fairfax County History Commission next Tuesday, the 2nd. What if we did the 9th? I know this is very close, guys, but if we're going to get the word out, that only gives us the end of September and all of October.
Well, on the 9th is the Confederate Names Committee meeting, but it is at 2:00.
I should be able to make the 9th, yeah.
Anybody else?
I don't have any conflicts. It looks good for me.
Yeah, I can do it
It
too.
looks good for me too.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere.
I wish I could say that, but anyway. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience at the front end of this tonight. I apologize for all the difficulties of going back and forth and trying to get on and off. My computer is still continuing to ask me to connect to my server, and I have no idea why that's continuing to happen.
So do we need to do that last motion that tells the date of the next meeting?
Yeah, we do. We do. That's why I wanted to get this confirmed, because that'll need to go in the minutes and get advertised. So right now, let me make a motion that our next meeting will be at 7:30 on the 9th of September, and a next event too. Okay,
What day is that? A Thursday again?
that's a Wednesday. Or do you want me to
It's a
do it on a Thursday? We could do it on the 10th. Mary, maybe that would be better for you.
Either, whatever the majority wants is fine.
I
I-
personally would prefer to do it Thursday, but
Lynn, that Thursday is the ARB meeting, and I never know when I have to be at that meeting.
I
So
see.
that
So
second
the ninth.
Thursday would be difficult for me,
Okay.
but the Wednesday is fine.
All right, let's leave it on the 9th then.
Sorry
I
about
have
that.
another
Thank
meeting
you.
I often do on Wednesday nights, and I've missed it now for too many weeks. So
So is that your motion?
that's my motion, the 9th of
Second.
September, 7:30. Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. In the midst of all of this too, I've been invaded by ants. So,
Oh, gosh.
and I have a concussion. You guys didn't know that tonight, but I'm dealing.
Oh, no. You do so well with a concussion.
That's because I'm crazy all the time anyway.
Well, that's okay. We love you.
Thank you.
How do you do that, Lena? You're okay.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Anything else that's hot, burning, left unsaid?
No, but we did not get your email yet. So just
You're
revise
kidding.
it and send it.
Well, now you can revise the document and
Right.
send it to us.
Yeah,
Once
because
you have
now
it
it's going to be superfluous and non-effective anyway. Okay.
And just know that you're not the only one with these problems. When we update it,
Mhm.
we had problems too.
Okay. All right. Thank you, darling. It's good to know that we're not swimming out here alone. Crazy times, for sure.
Technology
All
of-
right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate your time and your energy and your ideas this evening, and good questions. Very good questions. Liz, really happy that you're
Thanks, Mike.
with us. Yeah, Mike, take care of that puppy.
Yeah, I certainly shall. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Good night, Denise.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thanks again, Denise.
Good night,
Thank you
everybody.
again for being resilient tonight.
Good night, John Boy.
Okay. And Mary, thanks. I'll need to get back to you on some couple of other topics. So I think Mary's already gone. All right, guys.
That works for me.
What's that? Yeah.
She heard you.
I need to talk. I need to talk to you about markers.
Okay.
We'll be in touch about that. All right, ladies.
Okay, be careful with that concussion thing.
Actually, I'm going to do a couple more things, and I'm going to go to bed because I'm really
Okay.
supposed to be sleeping.
Do I need to call you to check on you?
I think I'm probably going to be okay, but I had an end of a large curtain rod was a big ball slammed into my head the other day, 2 days ago, and
Oh,
I knew when it
not
happened
fun.
it wasn't good, but I ignored it.
Not
because
fun.
I tend to be stubborn. Okay.
Okay.
Lynn,
good night.
did you get the email from me with the for the park names?
I may have, but that doesn't sound familiar, Liz. And don't forget, I was without email and computer a good part of this last weekend.
Well, could you please check on it? And if you need me to send it again, I'll send it again, but it's in the park policy manual.
Oh, about the namings.
Yes.
I got it yesterday. Yes, I did.
Okay,
sweetie.
cool.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we're good. We're good, darling.
All
Okay.
right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Good night, Liz.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Denise, did you want to talk now?
Sure. We need to talk. If we're done with the meeting, let me stop recording though.
Okay.